From ancient times to the present, Chinese emperors, who ruled over vast territories, lived incredibly extravagant lives. In particular, the sexual life of Chinese emperors was far more indulgent than that of the kings of neighboring countries. This was because all the palace maids who entered the imperial palace were considered the emperor's property. While it was common in other nations for monarchs to have numerous concubines, China's vast territory and large population meant that both the number of palace maids and the scale of the palaces were quite significant. For instance, the first emperor of the Qin dynasty, Qin Shi Huang, had a harem of 10,000 women, and Emperor Xuanzong of the Tang dynasty had a combined total of 40,000 concubines and palace maids. There was even a system to determine the order in which concubines would spend the night with the emperor. Some emperors' lives were shortened due to excessive sexual activity. What kind of lifestyle could have possibly led to a reduction in their lifespan? Fundamentally, the primary purpose of the emperor's sexual activities was to produce heirs. In Chinese history, particularly influenced by Confucianism, filial piety was of utmost importance. At the core of filial piety was the idea of continuing the family line, and failing to produce children was seen as a serious failing. For an imperial family that ruled the country, not being able to produce offspring was an issue that could cause a national scandal. In the ancient text Zhou Li, The Rights of Zhou, guidelines for the sexual practices of emperors are documented. According to this text, the emperor was expected to engage in sexual relations with women every day without rest. The concubines were divided into 5 ranks, from the 1st to the 5th. A palace official known as the female officer was primarily responsible for selecting candidates. This official was well aware of the emperor's preferences and ranked the concubines based on their physical appearance and other qualities. If we consider a month to be 30 days, the 81 concubines of the 5th rank would spend nights with the emperor from the 1st to the 9th of the month. These 5th rank concubines were known as yusha, and since 81 women over 9 days meant 9 women per day, the emperor would spend each night with 9 different concubines. Those who failed to please the emperor during these nights were eliminated from consideration. There were no exceptions for those who were menstruating or unwell during this period. From the 10th to the 12th of the month, the emperor was required to sleep with the 7 concubines of the 4th rank, known as shifu. These 27 concubines were divided into 3 groups of 9, similar to the 5th rank concubines, so the emperor would spend each night with a group of 9 concubines, maintaining the same 9-to-1 ratio. Starting on the 13th day, it was the turn of the 3rd rank concubines, called jubin. There were only 9 jubin concubines, so the rotation was completed in just 1 night. As the ranks increased, the chances of spending the night with the emperor and of being noticed by him also increased. On the 14th day, the emperor would sleep with 4 second-rank concubines known as sanfuren. Because there were so few sanfuren, the emperor would sometimes choose additional concubines to bring in based on his preferences. By the 15th day, it was the turn of the highest-ranking woman in the palace, the empress. The empress was allotted 2 nights on the 15th and 16th, during which she had the exclusive right to be with the emperor. For the remaining 2 weeks of the month, the rotation would proceed in reverse order, repeating the cycle. If the emperor followed this routine strictly and spent time with each woman once, he would have over 200 intimate encounters in a month. Of course, even though multiple women were present at once, it didn't necessarily mean he was with all of them. Concubines scheduled to spend the night with the emperor had to undergo various preparations. First, they would bathe and carefully comb their hair, leaving it long and straight. Then, they would wrap themselves in a blanket before entering the emperor's bedchamber. The reason for being rolled up in a blanket was twofold. It prevented any sharp accessories from potentially harming the emperor, and it also made it difficult for anyone with ill intentions to conceal weapons in their clothing. The emperor's bedchamber was hardly a place for privacy. He would sometimes break the rules and stay up all night enjoying his time with the concubines, which occasionally caused him to be late for his morning meetings. However, it's not like the emperor was some sort of movie character who could spend the night with 9 concubines at once every single time. The concubines faced tremendous pressure to capture the emperor's attention, leading to significant emotional stress. On days when the emperor drank too much and fell asleep right away, leaving no time for any intimacy, frustration would boil over among the concubines. Furthermore, if the empress failed to give birth to a crown prince, emergency measures were taken where the emperor and the empress would spend more than 10 consecutive days together. During these times, concubines of the 2nd to 5th ranks wouldn't even see the emperor for over 2 months. Various circumstances limited the opportunities for concubines to spend time with the emperor, especially compared to the empress. This led to intense jealousy and competition among the concubines, resulting in numerous schemes and intrigues. If a concubine became particularly favored by the emperor, she could be discreetly eliminated by the empress or the other high-ranking consorts. There's even a record of Jia Nanfeng, the empress of Jin Emperor Sima Zhong, who was unable to bear children. She became so enraged upon seeing a pregnant concubine that she killed her on the spot. The promiscuous lifestyles of the emperors had severe impacts on their health, leading to an average lifespan of just 38 years for Chinese emperors. The royal family often preferred marriages within the family to preserve the purity of their bloodline, which unfortunately resulted in a high incidence of genetic disorders, contributing to early deaths. Not only the emperors, but empresses also led indulgent lives. Wu Zetian, the first woman in Chinese history to go from being an empress to becoming an empress regnant, surrounded herself with numerous men, filling her days with endless pleasure. Her hedonistic lifestyle continued into her 70s. She even established a bureau called the Department of Male Attendants within the palace, where thousands of young men from all over China were selected to serve her. During the day, these approximately 3,000 men worked as her secretaries, and by night, they were summoned to her bedchamber. Similarly, Empress Dowager Cixi secretly recruited young men from all over China to satisfy her desires. Though she was not an empress regnant like Wu Zetian, Cixi wielded immense power and effectively ruled China during the Guangxu Emperor's reign, allowing her to exercise such authority. However, men who entered Cixi's bedchamber were killed immediately after to prevent any rumors from spreading about their encounter. They were merely used as instruments for a fleeting night of pleasure. The key difference between Wu Zetian and Empress Dowager Cixi was that Wu Zetian's reign was marked by relative stability and prosperity for the common people. Many scholars even regard her as an effective ruler, comparable to Emperor Taizong of the Tang Dynasty, who led China through a golden age. On the other hand, Cixi's time saw China in decline during the late Qing dynasty, with the people suffering greatly. It seems that, whether male or female, absolute power often leads to moral corruption, although describing it as corruption might be a bit misleading. After all, the pursuit of desire and pleasure is a fundamental human instinct. That's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell. Thank you for watching.